Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Keim Report wherever you get your podcast. You're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Empire Media. That's AMPIRE. Always much appreciated when you tune in. And don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. So I told you the other day, I'll talk to you on Monday. However, big news on Thursday with Jason Wright being ousted as a team president. So I want to talk about that, and you can join me Monday for my conversation with Nikki Javala from the Washington Post as we look ahead to training camp and all the questions that surround the team and the roster. But this is another off-field move that we got to kind of discuss just for a few minutes, get you in and out, and then look ahead to training camp. So listen, man, this is a huge move because it's just another revamping of this organization. Look at a year ago, where we were at. Even a year ago, as I record this, Josh Harris still hadn't officially bought the team, but in the last year, new owner, new GM, new coach, and now there's going to be a new president because Wright will be out. He's going to stick around till the end of the year. He's going to be as a senior advisor, but he's done as a president immediately, but he'll stick around as a senior advisor, helping with stadium search, with trying to secure naming rights for the stadium. There are a lot of people in the business community and in the area who do like and respect Jason, like dealing with him. So I think they're going to keep him on for that at least until the end of the season, and then that will be it. And if he gets a new job before then they'll pat him on the back, wish him luck, and move on. So now the quest for a new president, of course. Listen, Josh Harris and Tad Brown, who's the CEO of HBSE. They're going to be leading the search, but suffice to say, folks, this is a group that's always prepared. So even with the GM search, they hadn't made up their minds during the season, but they're already compiling lists and certainly looking at other people, or at least getting information a lot of people like Adam Peters. So you can rest assured that, again, this was not a surprising move. It's a move that a lot of us who I think cover the team have expected. And so you know that they're probably down the road of already looking at people. Now, I will say that the way they're going to structure this, it's the way it should be. You're going to have an owner and you have a GM, and then you're going to have a president over here. The president is only on the business side. So if you start seeing names of people who have a sports background, it's not what they're looking for. They're not looking for somebody to oversee the entire operation. They're looking for somebody to oversee the business side, period. Adam Peters is in charge of the football side. If they went out and changed that, I think Adam Peters might be kind of pissed because he's got the power on that side. He answers to Josh Harris. So that's how it's going to stay. So whoever they get, it's going to be on the business side. And my gut feeling would be that they're probably either down a certain road or at least have a really, really good idea of a couple of targets, a couple of people they would like to target. So when you see Bob Myers' name, listen, who knows what happens, but again, they're looking for a business guy, not a guy with a sports background to run the entire organization. They already have those people in place. But again, it's just another break from the past. And when you come into a new organization, when you have a new owner, it's not unusual to see this kind of a change. But it's funny because I've covered this team a long time, as you know, and I don't remember anything like this in a 1-year span. And it goes, you can include quarterback in there as well, although it's kind of a yearly occurrence here, but you changed each of the most important positions in an organization all in 1 year. Think about that. But I think it's what this franchise needed. And whatever your feelings are on Jason Wright, not everything that he gets blamed for was all on him. There were definitely some things that I know people liked about him and some things that people didn't like about him in the organization. Fans, you can have your own opinion. But when you make these changes, it's really hard, I think, to stick around, especially when the organization had gone through the years that this place had gone through and just subpar football play, subpar throughout the organization. And there were definitely good people in there, but it's certainly things were not going well. And so that's why we're in this spot. And Jason Wright's contract was up at some point in August. So that's why this move is coming out now. And it's one that but say this again, it was not a surprise. So why did this happen? Um, Again, part of it is just change. When you change, there's going to be moves like this. Uh, it's I know with Jason Wright, obviously there were a lot of things that had to change here. And you look at the business side over the last few years and just they lost sponsorships. Now you look back and it's like, how much of this was to blame or Snyder to blame for all that? Well, all of it, because that's why people were leaving. That's why sponsors left. It's why it was hard to get any sort of a stadium deal done. It's why it was hard to do anything with him here. And you notice that after he left, how many more season tickets they sold, how many more sponsors came back on board. Now they lost FedEx. FedEx, I think, was looking for a way out anyways. And, I know they haven't secured any new naming rights. I know they felt like it wouldn't, not so much that it wouldn't be hard, but that they would be in a good spot whenever they got that done. And part of it is they want to find somebody who would be willing to perhaps stick around when they move to the new stadium and not just sticking now. Because I think if you do that, then you can get a much higher fee. So that's all going on. But there was, and I talked to someone else who, whether or not this person likes him, they at least respected aspects of what Jason Wright did here. And part of that was, he said that he came to a wretched workplace and brought in a lot of good people, they thought. And I know some people here were not fans of his, and then others were. So, but part of that, now I know they brought in there were other people that brought in, a lot of them that left as well. And there were some people who left because of a power struggle with Jason. So there was so much going on here, but I think it was such an uphill battle because of what Dan Snyder had created for, and it was hard for anybody who worked here to keep pushing that boulder up the hill. And that's what it was like. And, and so anybody I think who would come here would have had a difficult time because of all the crap going on throughout the last 4 years prior to the sale. So, but he's got caught up in that. And again, there were things that he didn't do that were good enough. And, I know fans are upset about the name change. And he was the face of that name change. He was not alone in the name change. He was just the face of it. So was it his decision alone? No, it was a group decided that, including the owners. And, but again, he was the face of it. And we know the name remains unpopular, but that's not why I've heard that they're in this position, right? About the name change, nor was it the Sean Taylor Memorial installation that people were upset about as well. And understandably, they botched it the first time, just like the Sean Taylor retirement jersey ceremony. That was botched, in which Jason Wright admitted. And I do think that sometimes that there needed to be more listening to people who had deep knowledge of this franchise and what certain things meant to them. And I think with all those changes, sometimes that got lost. And sometimes you bring more people from the outside. It wasn't always bringing people from the NFL world or who had strong ties to this franchise coming in. And I think that sometimes led to a lot of hiccups. And there were things that were, continued to happen, whether it's press releases that were constant misspellings, and those are people that he brought in. So that's something as well that you had to clean up. And so all that goes into the pot when you're making decisions like this. And Josh Harris spent the last year going over every one of these individuals in the organization to see, should they remain and be part of the future of this place? And of course, the answer is no. And going back to the name stuff, the sad part about that is pretty much all the people who are involved in that are now gone. And, you guys are left with a name that people just don't like. And is it going to change at some point? I don't know. And we know that it wasn't going to change anytime soon. I know that they don't have the appetite for it right now because the manpower, the person power, however you want to say it, plus the financial commitment to doing that is pretty steep. So I think they're going to take their time to see and continue to try and rebuild other aspects of the franchise. I mean, they're pouring a lot of money into the practice facility because it's important to the players. I don't think the players care about the name for them to go invest in that right now. And yes, you'd have to invest a lot of money to go do that. They're putting that into the facility, whether it's, in terms of meeting rooms or just improvements throughout there, a players lounge and things like that. that I think that that's where their investment is, because they know they need to make it better for the players. They need to put a better product on the field for the fans. Because if they're called the Commanders or the Redskins, if you don't put a better product on there, people aren't going to show up. And, I always bring this up. In 2018, I was part of it was Tariq El-Bashir and I went to Dullestown Mall before the Houston game and watched Josh Norman hand out tickets to people to try and get them to go to the game when they were called the Redskins, because there was a lot of disdain for the franchise. And I get why all that took place. I get it. But my point is they need to put a better product on the field to get people excited to go. I'm an Indians fan, a Guardians fan. People there still aren't happy about the name change, but they put a good product on the field. People show up. Yes, you're going to lose some people because of it. But the bottom line is put a good product on there. And then I think, is it off the table? No, I don't believe it is. But I don't think it's never been described to me as something that was immediate. And it's always been, a couple of years from now, maybe they'll look at it, something along those lines. Anyways, but I just want to bring that up. But Jason Wright was a part of that. That was part of his thing. And he was a part of the Sean Taylor stuff. And he was a part of this. But I think there are a lot of, people who felt like he also helped secure more sponsorships this offseason and help change the way the business side was organized. But, I think, he became the face of a lot of that. So, that's the way it goes. And again, very much an uphill battle. I do think they'd be smart if they brought back the previous uniforms, but that's for another day. And that wasn't all his decision either as well. So I think the other thing, there are a couple other things I think that kind of jumped out when over the last couple of years, I think that may have led down this road. I remember talking to people here, some of the newcomers, and just like they weren't too thrilled with the business side and maybe the way it was organized and just the state it was in. Now it wasn't just about losing sponsors and all that. I just think they just didn't like how it was. And keep in mind, there are a lot of businessmen who are part of this ownership group. So they know what they're looking for and how they want things structured and organized. And then I think the other thing is at the 2023 Combine, I heard from multiple people from outside this organization, some inside, but also from outside, about how the worst kept secret was Jason Wright wanting to kind of inch his way or edge his way more into the football side and kind of maybe be able to have control of both. And I don't know that's certainly knowing that's not the way Josh Harris likes to operate. And now he was not here yet, but the team was in the process of being sold at that time. So I don't think that was something was that the final reason? No, because they could have gotten rid of him much sooner because of that. Right. But I certainly think it was something that an initial impression, it was not what they were looking to hear. Right. I'll just say that. But again, they spent the last year evaluating everything. They made another change. It's a revamped organization. I think the organization, you can sit there and say, like, I think even from the business side, whatever you think of Jason Wright, like it's going to be in a better spot in large part because the previous owner is gone. And that made a tremendous difference. And you talk to people, some of the sponsorship places that are sponsoring, then that was a big reason why they left and why some came back. So, but anyway, Jason Wright's gone. And he did interview for the Green Bay, I think it was a CEO and chairman job or team president job. When that starts to happen, when they give your blessing for it, that means they're okay with you leaving. And, I think that's why that was another clue that this was going to end up in this way. So my dealings with Jason Wright were always very professional. I always appreciated his, the respect he showed me, and I hope the respect I showed him. But when you're looking at this again, when there's a new owner, it's really hard to stick around. You have to be really, really, really good and have your department operating at a high efficient level. And I know, like I said, it's not, I did talk to people who felt like there were a lot of good things that Jason Wright did and others who will probably be happy, who will be happy with this change, depending, of course, on who comes in. Regardless, we're in the spot. And now that's the last big move that Josh Harris had to make. It is over. We move now to football. And that's why on Monday, I'll be back with Nikki Javala from the Washington Post talking about training camp and looking at all football stuff. We're back to just on the field, folks. How nice is that? Anyways, I'll talk to you next time.